Yes, I was just getting ready to type in that I had a question. Chris, you and your staff just signed a consensus top 10 recruiting class. Could you go through each guy and explain a little bit what they'll bring to the team?
Sure. We've got 5 players. I think I'll start with Bobby Pettiford, who's from Durham, North Carolina. I think a really, really explosive player, a phenomenal athlete, and a very, very tough kid, winner, someone we're really excited about. Bobby is electric with the ball. I think he has an ability to get in the lane. I think he's a better shooter than people think. He has good form, but, his whole life, he had an ability to get to the rim. And so generally when that happens first, you sort of develop your outside shooting later on. But, he's more than capable of playing both on and off the ball, probably more on the ball, as a dynamic point guard with great speed and explosiveness. I think he can be a really good defender too, Shannon. Elle Ellis, right from the same area.
With a huge sale going on now. Of course, they carry spikes for every member of the family, and they're taking free orders on hard to find.
There we go. All right. I'm decent, but it's hard to concentrate on 2 different things there. Elle is a scorer. I think Elle is a guy that can play, multiple positions in the backcourt. He's played point guard. He's obviously been a scoring guard. I think he's extremely athletic. We wanted to make sure that we had some athleticism in our backcourt and feel like with Bobby and Elle, that was really answered. Elle's a guy that can really get on a hot streak shooting the ball. And, coming from the junior college ranks after 2 years, he'll be a little bit more experienced than your average freshman. I know it's still a different level, but, we're excited about, adding Elle. We have a small forward 2 guard in Mike James, who's from Orlando, Florida. I think Mike in time can be a really good, outstanding defender, Shannon. Just, very athletic, has a motor. One of the best compliments that I heard about Mike came from his coach, Steve Reese. And Steve just said, if we had a 5:30 workout in the morning, Mike was there with his shoes tied every day at 10 after 5. Just always early, extremely reliable. I think he's becoming a much improved shooter, more of a first step, explosive guy, get the rim. But we feel like he can guard multiple positions at our level. Eric Vanderheijen is one of the best shooters, I think, in the class of 2021. Eric has really good range. He shot high 40% from 3 last year as a junior. A guy that's got really good size and very, very good passing ability. He's going to have to get better defensively and have to get a little tougher and put on a little bit of weight. But most guys do coming out of high school to college. But, with Eric's skill set and his parents' background of both being professional basketball players, Eric loves the game and feel like he'll add a whole lot to our team. And then Roosevelt Wheeler, who's our latest commitment and signee. We've been recruiting him hard for a couple of years now. And, out of Richmond, Virginia, originally from Atlanta. Roosevelt's a load. He's every bit of 6'10". I think he's really good bounce. He plays with a high motor. There's no softness in what Roosevelt does. So, he's out with an injury right now. Unfortunately, the senior year, he's going to have to rehab an Achilles that he hurt in a late summer league or / fall league. But, by the time he gets to us, he'll be 9 months post-injury and post-surgery. We got a great athletic trainer in Fred Hina, and we feel like, we'll make a decision when that time comes where we feel like Roosevelt is.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to Kent Spencer, followed by Michael McCammon.
Hey, Chris. I mean, obviously, losing Malik and losing Charles for the time that you guys are going to lose them this year isn't good. How's everybody else on the injury front? I know you had some other guys banged up. Do you think, outside of Malik and Charles, that you will be at full strength of what you have available to you next Wednesday?
I don't know, Kent. I mean, I'd like to be able to answer that, but, some of the injuries that our guys are dealing with have been finicky, to say the least. And, we have guys that want to be out there. Nobody's sort of sandbagging and holding back. Josh Nickelberry is sort of recovering and rehabbing from an arthroscopic knee surgery to repair some meniscus. So, he's getting closer. I don't know when he will be at full strength, or at least strength enough to be able to get on the court and practice and join us. Sam Williamson is back. He's been dealing with an aggravated patellar tendon that really gave him fits for 3 or 4 weeks, here in the preseason. So it's been a lot of moving pieces and a lot of moving parts, to say the least, here in practice. I mean, we've been down to 6 scholarship guys some days. So we're doing what we can and anticipating getting those guys back. I would think Sam would be ready for, our opener next week. And then obviously Jalen Withers has been a guy that's been rehabbing a sprained ankle that he twisted about a week ago. So likelihood is we'll get him back as well.
Go to Michael.
Chris, Michael McCammon from Cardinal Authority. Saw that DAndre Davis picked up the gold jersey in practice. Seems to be some buzz about how he's performing. Just talk about how he's developed since he's arrived on campus.
Yeah, really been happy, Michael, with Dre's progress so far. As a freshman, I feel like he's got a really good understanding of the game. That so often it just takes a while for guys that are making that transition from high school to college. And, Dre's not a finished product by any means, but I think he's advanced a little bit more than most his age. He's a tough kid. He really tends to make the right play on offense, not the spectacular play, but the right play, whether that's an extra pass, whether that's, he's open and takes the shot. He's shooting the ball with a lot of confidence in the preseason. I think he's a more than willing defender. He's very, very capable. I think he has the ability to be a defensive stopper over time. But his attitude every day has been the same. He is a workhorse, a guy that we can count on every day to be at practice, and one that continues to get better.
To Jody and then Fred Cowgill.
Hey, Chris, it's Jody from Cardinal Authority. Can go back to the recruiting class for a second. Can you just kind of speak to what your staff did to kind of put this together and the challenges that you faced, with everything that the program is going through, still not knowing the future with the NCAA stuff?
Yeah, so the first challenge that we had is no different from the challenge that everybody's had dealing with COVID. Not having the ability to go out in the spring, not having the ability to have their kids and the families, on our campus. So we can't visit them, they can't visit us. And that causes a lot of trepidation, on a recruit side. Like, it's one thing to experience the school virtually and maybe look up things on the internet, but to not have the ability to walk around and see campus or walk through the Yum Center, there's a lot of trust that they put in our coaching staff to finally say that they were coming to Louisville. The NCAA stuff, I say this all the time, it is what it is, and at some point, we're going to have closure on it. But there are some resounding positives around Louisville basketball that we will always continue to sell. And that's, number one, we have one of the best fan bases in the entire country when it comes to college basketball. The number one TV market in college basketball is right here in Louisville. That's because people love the game. They love their Cardinals. So I know our future recruits understand that they're going to play in front of some passionate fans and some, high expectations here. Number two, they're going to play in what I think is one of the best arenas in all college basketball. I mean, the Yum Center's fabulous, and although it'll look different this year, there's not too many programs in the country that have anything remotely close. And we're also going to play in the best basketball conference in the country, the ACC. It's had 6 of the last 10 national champions, and historically it has most guys that go to the NBA from our conference, and it's really not even close. And so if you want to play in the best basketball conference in the country, you play in the ACC. Obviously some of the guys that we recruited were from the heart of the ACC, whether it's North Carolina, Virginia, and I think that played a part in their decision, wanting to come to a school that has a huge tradition and plays in the best basketball in the country. So that was what we talked about, Jody, and we will continue to talk about.
Go to Fred.
Hey, Coach. Fred Cowgill, WLKY. A week out, what's your level of optimism going into the season opener, knowing you've had all these physical challenges? And what do you expect those first couple of games?
Well, I cross our fingers and hope that, we don't have positive tests out of any of the teams in the bubble. I think football around the country has shown us that's not going to be a reality. There are going to be cancellations. There are going to be postponements. There's going to be shuffling of schedules. We can only control, what we can control, and that is try to do the best job that we can, both as individuals and as a team, to keep from getting the virus, and all the different things that we've all been asked to do around the country. The second thing that we have to be is very flexible, and knowing that maybe we're supposed to play on a Monday night, but that may change to a Thursday night against a different opponent, and that's okay. And, it beats the alternative of sitting in our basement and not having any sports.
Go to Russ Brown.
Yes, Chris, you had mentioned to Jeff Greer, I think early last week, about having some former players come in and scrimmage. Did you get that done?
Yeah, we've held a scrimmage with former players. It was good for our team.
Go to Shannon.
This is go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Russ. We got to follow up.
Well, this is basketball, but it's not just what I asked. What's your reaction to having the tournament all held in Indianapolis?
Well, I'll be anxious to see, where exactly those venues are and how it's going to look. But, if the powers that be think that's the best way to hold the NCAA tournament, not have it collapse, then I'm all for it. Obviously, it's in close proximity here to Louisville, but that seems so much further down the line, Russ, that I don't really pay it much attention right now. I'm more worried about Evansville and playing on the 25th that I am in the NCAA tournament, wherever the heck they play it.
Okay, thanks.
Go to Shannon and then back to Kent.
I don't know if there are guys more excited about tonight's draft than Jordan Warra, who's been tweeting about not being able to sleep. Have you been able to talk to him, and what do you hope for him tonight?
I have. I've kept in touch with Jordan all throughout, this time. He was a guy that I really enjoyed coaching. I think he got better during his career here at Louisville and put himself in a great spot. The NBA has so many moving pieces and moving parts, from teams trading draft picks to, all of a sudden signing somebody and now they have no roster space. So, like Jordan, I'm anxious to see where he goes. But I think he did himself well. It's been a really, really weird time to show the NBA who you are as a player. That the combine, wasn't to be. They didn't have workout groups of 4 and 5 players. Everything was in a gym sort of by yourself with a trainer, and it was videotaped. But the things they asked Jordan to do, whether that's an interview, which he did thousands of them, or whether that was some drills, 1-on-0 shooting drills that were designed to get you tired and see how you could shoot the ball, he performed extremely well. And I knew he would. Jordan is a phenomenal shooter. And I think that's something that's really been valued in the NBA a lot here over the last 5 to 10 years, maybe more than it was 30 and 40 years ago. So I think Jordan's in a great spot, and I'm wishing him well. And our program's excited to see how it unfolds tonight.
Kent.
Chris, last year at this time, David Johnson was a kid, kind of recovering from shoulder surgery, and it took him a while to get it 100% for you guys, and obviously showed flashes. Where is he at with his game right now, and what do you expect from him this year?
Yeah, I think David is much better than he was a year ago. He's still figuring out how to take his time and be patient. At times he gets jittery and wants to go too fast. And, it's a great attribute that he has, his speed and his athletic ability. But, the game at times is best served by guys who play at a slower pace and change that speed. And David's learning that. He's so much further along than he was last year at this time. I think he's a much better defensive player than he was a year ago and last season. And we're going to need him to be. We're going to count on David in so many different ways. The the bright spots that you saw or the shining moments that you saw, they have to be stretched out, and they have to result in consistency for us to be a good team. And so we're going to be really hard on David because we need him to be consistent, and his teammates got to know that he's going to be the same guy, with the basketball, taking care of it, not turning it over, not having one great play and one lousy play. And he's going to have some tough moments where he's got to figure it out, but he's getting better by the day.
Go back to Jody and then Fred.
Chris, with the injury to Malik and also with just the depth issues that you might have, can we assume that Gabe will play? And obviously it changed things when this year's kind of a free year for everybody. I know you were planning on redshirting him. Can we assume that we will see him?
Yeah. So with COVID, Jody, the way that this rule got enacted, everybody, like you said, gets a free year. I think we all know that by now. So there really isn't a developmental redshirt. You can play a kid as a freshman, and next year he's going to be considered a freshman as well. So Gabe will be one of the guys that we have, on the active roster. And if we need to put him in there, or if we feel like he's playing well enough to put him in there for however long that is, if that's a couple minutes, if that's 20 minutes, then we'll do it.
As a quick follow-up, what have you seen from him? I don't know that we've ever really even asked you about him since he signed. What have you seen from him since he's been on campus?
He's still playing in high school speed. And so he needs to get a hell of a lot faster. He needs to get in a heck of a lot better stance and continue to get into better shape, which he's done a really good job in the weight room. He's really done a really good job with his body. But now the basketball conditioning, be able to give multiple efforts, defend a ball screen, block his man out, rebound, outlet, run the floor. It's a much different challenge at the collegiate level than at the high school level where he was planning on being. And so obviously when Malik goes down, we're trying to speed that up as fast as we can.
Fred?
Hey, Coach, this goes back a little bit to an earlier question. With so many losses to graduation and the NBA and all of that, and then some of the guys dinged up now, what will the fans see in the first few games? Do you even know quite what to expect, or are you going to experiment a little bit?
Well, the first thing I'd say, I got to figure out who's going to be on the roster, who's going to be healthy for that game, next week, Fred. But, we're going to certainly look very, very different from a year ago. We don't have all that experience returning. I'd like to think that David and Carlik can really do a bulk of the playmaking. I think getting Sam back into the lineup and sort of getting his legs under him, we're going to need him to be a guy that can score the ball. Hopefully Jalen gets healthy. He can be a guy that I think is a tough mismatch for a lot of big guys to cover because he's so daggone quick. So, we have our full complement of players. We'll be out there and competing and trying to win every single game that we can play, but I don't know that just yet. So there may be some experimenting on the sideline when we play Evansville.
Take two more questions from Michael and then Kent.
Hey, Chris, Michael again. Obviously, you're going into a season that's quite unique. And normally, you're playing by now. You did have the one scrimmage against former players, but usually you've played other competition by now as well. What's it? I mean, is there like a big question mark hovering? When you coaches are talking. I mean, how do you know what to really anticipate or feel like when you're going into a season like this?
Well, we've been through a lot of preseasons in the past. I think a lot of times coaches generally have a feel for if our players are competing hard enough on the defensive end of the floor, if they have an awareness that's going to be needed on things that are happening. The scrimmage, although it was against former players and maybe not guys in the prime of their playing career, really give us an understanding of some areas that we have to get better. And so that's exactly what that scrimmage did. And, we don't have the luxury of having a Division, 2 exhibition game or a secret scrimmage against the Division I team. So it's a little bit different than we're used to, but, we're not unlike every other team in the country. I mean, they're dealing with the exact same thing. So there's going to be a feeling out process that, we play those first couple games and they're going to come fast and furious. And we're going to have to make some adjustments, and we're going to have to learn from both good play and bad, figure out how to continue to get better, especially with a younger roster in certain areas.
Final question from Tim.
Chris, even though he's hurting on the sideline, do you have to still have Malik, because he is that vocal leader on the team? Does he still have to be that presence for you guys? And also with him out, what does this mean for Aiden? Does he have to really speed up that process on his development?
Well, Malik's always going to be a guy that's vocal, and it's going to try to be a leader for our team, but it's different when you're out, especially when you're talking about an extended period of time of 3 months. It's just different. We're going to have to rely on guys like David Johnson and Carleague Jones, guys that are on the floor, that have to make those adjustments in real time. Certainly our front court took a hit with what I think is one of the best defensive bigs in the country being out. Aiden's got to step up in more than, one way, and so, he has all the opportunity in the world in front of him, but whether he takes advantage of that or not remains to be seen. And we're going to play the best guys that give us the best chance of winning. And so, we're going to learn a lot about our team here when the bubble comes to town next week.
Coach, thank you for your time. That will conclude our call today. Just to alert you, we expect to have Samuel Williamson join us early afternoon tomorrow. We'll send you a notice on that one. Thank you.
Thanks.